All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49ers / NFL video. Check out Pig and a Pickle, two locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Well, interesting article on ESPN about each team's standout player from the offseason. And the more I looked at this, the more I thought it was an interesting piece. There were a number of really interesting names on the list. One of them they got absolutely right because I've been at Niner camp all summer or all spring, I should say, in May and June, all the OTAs and the mini camps is Brandon Aiyuk. Their standout player for the 49ers would they list as Brandon Aiyuk, and there's just no doubt. You could also put, Drake Jackson on that list. You could have put Christian McCaffrey on that list, but it's Aiyuk that's really stood out. Aiyuk looks like he's taking it to another level. He's in fantastic shape. He's catching everything. He just, if you believe him, he says he's about to take off, and there's no reason to believe he's not. He's after the big money deal. I think he's primed for a huge year. And it's funny. Deebo Samuel told us the other day at OTAs that he watched his film from last year with Kyle Shanahan and that he thought he was terrible in every phase of the game. And when we asked him about specifics, he's like, yeah, everything. My route running, my breaks, my concentration, I was sluggish and everything that I did. He was very, very critical. And if you really think about the 49ers, this could be a huge year for the Niners if all that comes out of it is that Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel both have career years. Now, we asked Diamador Lenore the other day after practice, give me the receiver that stands out to you. And he didn't pause, and he said Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, it's really noticeable when you watch Aiyuk. His route running, his breaks, he's in and out of his breaks. He's very crisp. His footwork is outstanding. His hands are great. He's not body catching anything. He's in terrific shape. He's taken his game to another level, and he's obviously in a contract year and looking to bust out. And then you got Deebo Samuel, who says that every aspect of his game was disappointing, and he's holding himself to a high standard this year, and also believes that he's primed for a breakout. So those two guys, I believe, most likely will break out. Ayuk's going to be better than last year, and he was good last year. Deebo Samuel's going to be better this year than last year. He was very good last year. And those two guys taking it to a new level on the offensive side of the ball could help elevate the entire 49ers season all by themselves. So two guys to look for in 49er camp for sure this summer and throughout the preseason, and look for them to take off. Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel. I think both those guys are taking it to another level. All right, now let's talk about some of the interesting guys, though, on this list from ESPN around the league. And these are the other players that are supposedly the Brandon Aiyuk of their camp. And for the Rams, they went with Puka Nacua, who's a wide receiver from BYU, who the 49ers showed a lot of interest in prior to the draft. And, if you got Cooper Kupp on one side and you add a guy like Puka Nacua and he becomes a real nice player for Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, that's going to help the Rams quite a bit. So I thought that name jumped out to me, the BYU receiver who the 49ers showed a lot of interest in prior to the draft. Another name that jumped out to me when I'm looking at this list was the Arizona Cardinals standout player of their offseason is none other than Michael Wilson, the rookie receiver out of Stanford. Michael Wilson at the Senior Bowl, you could argue, was the best wide receiver on either team, and maybe the best wide receiver all week. He made several big plays in practice, and he even had a couple of huge plays in the game. So that one's interesting. If the Arizona Cardinals, who just kissed off on DeAndre Hopkins, are about to, if they get a great year out of Michael Wilson, maybe the Cardinals will be a little bit better than what we think. So those two jumped out for sure. And when I saw them on the list, I thought, wow. Now look for Michael Wilson in Arizona and look for Puka Nacua in Los Angeles. And rookie receivers rarely step up. It's usually second-year receivers. But look for those two guys in those two respective camps. Now, who else made this list that's interesting? Romeo Doubs, the Nevada receiver, who him and Christian Watson really had a nice rookie year for Green Bay. Now, Aaron Rodgers has moved on. So Rodgers is no longer the guy there. They'll be catching passes from Jordan Love. But I really loved Romeo Doubs at Nevada. I loved what I saw from him as a rookie. And it's very rare to see a rookie wide receiver step in and make plays. But Romeo Doubs did in Green Bay's offense. And they said that he's had a terrific offseason, and they're waiting for him to kind of, get to that next level. A couple other interesting names to keep track of, former Niners that are in other spots now. The Buffalo Bills surprise standout of their offseason has been Trent Sherfield. Buffalo could definitely use some help at wide receiver. Khalil Shakur, the second-year receiver out of Boise, is also having a really good offseason. But if you add to Diggs and some of the weapons they have there, Trent Sherfield playing really, really well, that's going to help Buffalo quite a bit. And there's no question that Khalil Shakur from Boise State in his second year, if he takes off, suddenly Josh Allen may have a couple more weapons than he had a year ago, and that makes Buffalo a team to watch. A couple other teams that have breakout players or standout players that you should watch. If the Dolphins didn't already have enough speed with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they added Devin Achane from a Texas A&M, the running back / wide receiver in the draft. And Achane has got unbelievable speed. Maybe the fastest player in the entire draft. Really, really exciting speed. So Miami has added another burner, and the speed that they have at their, with their weapons is probably second to none in the NFL. That's a name to remember. Here's a couple more I think that are interesting. The New England Patriots list the former Sac State linebacker / safety Marte Mapu as their standout player. And if there is a guy in this league that will be able to get the most out of Marte Mapu, it's Bill Belichick. Belichick is a phenomenal coverage coach. He's a phenomenal defensive backfield coach. That's his specialty. And if he can get Mapu to be a coverage linebacker or maybe a third safety and a 3 safety alignment, you may see Mapu emerge in New England as a real secret weapon. He's hyperactive. He's smart. He's dedicated. He lives to make plays. Marte Mapu in New England is the guy to watch this summer. Another team that is desperate for wide receivers is the Baltimore Ravens. They've got Rashad Bateman, and they're looking for Bateman to step up. But, man, they've tried a number of different receivers. But one of the guys they signed in the offseason is Nelson Aguilar, the former Patriot, the former Eagle. And according to the reports out of Baltimore, Aguilar has just been outstanding in Baltimore's camp. So Aguilar's always had a ton of talent. He's always had talent. He can run. He's got size. He's got good hands. And now he's in Baltimore where all that talent meets opportunity, and he may have a huge year for the Ravens. One other name that I think is really interesting, Cleveland Browns have the ex-Niner speedster Marquise Goodwin in camp. Goodwin had a good year last year for Seattle. He jumped to the Browns in free agency, and he is a go pattern guy, but he has been terrific this offseason for the Browns, and you may see Deshaun Watson hooking up with Marquise Goodwin quite a few times during this upcoming season. A couple other names that I really like to look for, Derek Stingley Jr. in Houston is a terrific corner. Played at LSU, now playing for DeMeco Ryans in Houston in that secondary. DeMeco added Jimmy Ward. Now you got Stingley coming of age. I think the Texans may be a little bit better than people think. And Derek Stingley Jr. is a terrific talent. And I would not be surprised if he really has a major step forward this year. A name in Tennessee Titans camp that they say is their standout guy is Treylon Burks, the Arkansas receiver who's built, a lot of power in Burks' game. He's probably 235. He's really powerful. He came on at the end of the year. He could be the receiver that replaces A.J. Brown in Tennessee. I would not be shocked if Treylon Burks, had a huge bust-out performance. Couple other names that are really interesting to me. One, Deneric Prince, a running back from Tulsa. He's in Kansas City's camp. And Kansas City obviously came away with a terrific running back last year. And, there's no question that they've got a great eye for talent. I really like Deneric Prince in the draft. Played at Tulsa. He's got good size. And you've got Isaiah Pacheco. And now you add Deneric Prince. Look for him to really fire in Kansas City's camp. Brett Veach, one of the best GMs going. In the New York Giants camp, they say Darren Waller has really been the standout player. That's interesting to watch for because Waller obviously is a Pro Bowl caliber tight end, and he could be a star. He is a star, but he could continue to be a star as he jumps from the Raiders in the AFC to the Giants in the NFC. You always got to keep one eye on the Eagles. Christian Ellis, the linebacker, supposedly had a very, very good camp for them. That's a name to watch. And the Chicago Bears drafted Tyreek Stevenson, a cornerback out of Miami. And, man, the Bears are coming on. I think, Ryan Poles is one of the underrated young GMs in the game. Matt Eberflus, the defensive head coach there, is probably going to find a way to get the best out of Tyreek Stevenson and expect Stevenson to be a major player in that Bears secondary. All right, those are just some of those standout players around NFL camps. Look for the Niners standouts to be Deebo Samuel and maybe more specifically Brandon Aiyuk, and a lot of interesting players to watch for around the NFL with camps getting ready to roll about a month from right now. Hope you enjoyed our video on the Niners in the NFL. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show, and thanks to all you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.